So Nerdio is our third-party go-to that we work with, because you really need a go-to solution, right? They got their manager for WVD. They extend that basically that AVD admin experience. Essentially, what this looks like, there's a lot of stuff here that they do. They do all the stuff that you would expect in an enterprise solution for AVD that Microsoft doesn't have. Period. Hard stop, right? So they basically just build on top of that, and basically you have a resource group with the Nerdio components in it, and their big thing is operational management, and to some degree monitoring, where they really take that to the real game with this solution. I'm not going to go through all these, but as you can see, they do anything you could think of. One of our counterparts, James Kindon, if you're familiar with him, we work with him a lot. He's one of the bubs. He said it best the other day when we were talking to him. He's like, man, everything I can think of where I need it, I go to Nerdio and I look in there and they have it. It's like it's just there, right? So
they're on that fast release cycle, so they'll bake your feedback right in on a sprint. So it's been pretty cool to see.
And they're constantly updating in there, right? So it gives you the automation of the images, the host pools, the integration, the visibility, self-healing, all that sweet stuff, right? It's the ongoing management and those kind of things. The big thing is auto scales, right? They can auto scale stuff up and take them away. Whereas even in the Citrix world right now, there's PowerShell to do that. There's nothing in the GUI yet, but they've got it real slick in there to what saves you a ton of money from that pays for itself, right? They've showed us many times on large deployments, and it just gives you the actual cost of what you save, because you just basically can set a time where some of those hosts are taken away, they're drained, taken away. You can't do any of that in the AVD portal native. You can't do any of that, right? It's just not there. So it gives you those capabilities that you really should have from the beginning. And then just to show a little bit of the Nerdio experience here. So this is the dashboard that we've got going on for our lab, right? Our small lab. So you got your summary uses, how you're using it. But the big thing is here is your workspaces and your desktop ins. Basically your workspace, everything you can configure, everything like I just showed you, the host pools, the workspace and all that, you can configure directly from here. You don't have to go to the AVD portal at all. You can if you really want to, and you can change it there, and then it just reads it from within here. But you would use this at that point. So what's nice about it is that, Shane and I basically, when we first started using this, we do this test where we don't even read the documentation. We just start going through it. It's kind of funny. We're just like, how far can we get before we start stumbling around and we don't know what we're doing? And we got pretty darn far, right? So everything's pretty
super intuitive,
intuitive, right? So you got your workspace, all this you create within the GUI. As you can see, I got a multi-session, a single session workspace. It's easy to tell them you want the remote apps versus desktops. That's the thing, is everything application groups in AVD it's named application groups, but it can be a desktop or apps. It tells you who's on it, the hosts, what's up, what's not. As you can see, I've got auto scale, like I was talking about, set when it scales and those kind of things. They've got images that you can select and bake right in, obviously, kind of like what he was showing from the quick deploy or the Citrix CVAD service. And then that monthly cost here is important. We don't have enough history to show that, but you would see exactly how much you're saving due to the auto scale configuration, right? So this is the most important thing, is you got the sizing. You can tell it's based on whatever thing. You want to have so many hosts ready to go. You want to have so many bursts ready to go. Your scaling logic, so on and so forth. When to remove them, scale in, gets to a certain time of day. When do we remove them? And then the start of work hours and pre-staging, everything that you could think about, messaging, auto healing broken hosts, so on and so forth. And this stuff works splendidly, and it's just fantastic from that standpoint. So I just wanted to show you that, because that's such a big thing. You got all the other capabilities you saw in there with the app attached straight from the GUI, the application groups, creating them from here. All I did is create the Edge one. I just went in here. You can create your app groups. It asks you what apps you can. It's super, super easy to do that, right? And then on the properties of the pool, obviously you can see in here, kind of some of the basic stuff like I was showing before, all the redirection policies, all those things. And then they have stuff that's even slicker. Like we were saying, like GPU drivers, usually I'm a GPU guy. We have to install, Shane and I have to install the GPU drivers in the image before we do the GPU stuff. Well, they took that from community, feedback, and now you can just click a button and I don't have to worry about it, right? So the accelerated networking, that's a big one, right? We can do it right from here. Otherwise, you got to go shut a VM down, run a PowerShell script in the AVD side, turn it on. You can just do the accelerated networking right from here, right? So you can see all the things you can do here. You can distribute across availability zones. We did FSLogix profiles you can have on or off here. We have it controlled via GPO still. And then the monitoring piece, you can configure your monitor insights. With that, I'll hit that right down here. They got the scripted based actions, incredibly powerful. You can see some of the stuff you can do straight from here. And none of this is even thought of on the AVD native side. And like I was saying, on the monitoring, it takes you, we got Sapago set up. They got a deal with Sapago where they make it very cheap. It's like 50 cents per user, not including consumption, but 50 cents per user to use this. It gives you that analytics type dashboard stuff that you would expect. That's different. They partnered with Microsoft. They created a dashboard, a Nerdio based dashboard for this with Sapago to be able to give you some of that to tie in, right? You can use the WVD monitor / built-in analytics as well from that standpoint, but so that gives you the analytics. The files, just want to show you there, we tied in our existing, we already had a storage deal, but you could just as easily, create one new. So we already had one where you can manage this. You could add one from here. It'll just prompt you for everything. Usually, if you're familiar with this, you got to go manually do all this stuff, right? It's just point and prompt and put in your information and done. It goes out. If you've given that account, that app account, the Nerdio account permissions it needs to do, it goes out and does it.
Yeah, there's typically a lot of steps to set that up and set it up right with permissions and everything like that. So they're taking care of all that for you again, giving you that FSLogix capability, which again, FSLogix, for those of you that don't know, we mentioned a couple of times, but essentially it was acquired by Microsoft. It's a container solution, VHD at login. That's really meant if you're a 365 customer, you're using Office 365 or using OneDrive, it's a must-have. I mean, that's we could talk to more of capabilities of it can do later, but that's kind of the big deal there.
Yeah. And then really quick, the last thing, I didn't want to forget about it, Shane wanted me to mention it, but you got the API integration here, which is key. You enable it, you have your key, whatever, and then you can go out here and you can do all you automation guys, you can come in here. It's got full API integration. You can do whatever you want to do here from that standpoint. So just really slick stuff. Running low on time, so I just wanted to show you. Obviously, there was a lot more to show you there than there was on the AVD native side. So everything AVD related is same as previous slides. Named user CCU. They got that special deal with Sapago, like I was talking about, for monitoring, or you can use the native, Azure Analytics monitor capability. Pros, cons, it adds these it adds the enterprise level features that you'd be expected to have, right? So really, as a partner company, we aren't going to be doing a lot of WVD native by itself. Right? There you go, I said it again, AVD native by itself.
Drink a beer, shot.
Yeah, but Nerdio is going to be our solution that we're going to be putting on top there, because really it's too hokey, sketchy, whatever you want to call it, just by itself. Unless
if you're like a 10 user shop, I mean, you'll get by without it. But I mean, the cool thing too is like there's a 30-day trial out the box, right? So we typically use it on our proof of concepts. And then if you do take Nerdio away, everything's native to the APIs, so you can still function without it, right? It's just calling all those functions for you. Auto scaling obviously isn't going to work. That's something that they built a lot.
Yeah, they do it within their paths or that service that you deploy in your environment, right? That auto scale and takeaway. So obviously it's an add-on cost, very, very small from that standpoint, from what I've seen. And then it's dependent on RDP, right? They're not changing the game. They're not doing a new protocol. So it's just building on the management operations and monitoring, which are the big misses from Microsoft. Right? Citrix is the only one that has their own protocol. When you turn this stuff over to Citrix, you're then using all the HDX goodness, the EDT goodness, all of that stuff you get, and above and beyond just the management operations, right?